Chapter 1. The door he was afraid to open. In a small, quiet village tucked between green hills and foggy rice fields, Ji-hoon had lived his entire 19 years without ever being truly seen. People knew him as the polite boy who helped his mother, who bowed properly to elders, who never caused trouble. But there was a part of him no one knew, a part that woke up every night, whispering things he was too afraid to say out loud. He was secretly gay. In a place like this, the truth was something to be buried deep. One afternoon, Ji-hoon was sent to Seoul to deliver some papers for a local business. The city felt unreal: tall buildings, neon lights, crowds moving like waves. For the first time, he felt small and free. While wandering, he found himself standing in front of a narrow street glowing with rainbow lights. At the end of it was a gay bar. His heart pounded. So this is where people like me go. He stepped forward, then stopped. Fear wrapped around his chest. What if someone saw him? What if he didn't belong? He stood there, frozen, staring at the door like it was a forbidden dream. That was when a voice spoke beside him. First time, Ji-hoon turned. The man standing there looked like he had walked out of another world. Tall, well-dressed, hair neatly styled, eyes sharp yet amused. He carried himself with calm confidence, as if he was never afraid of being exactly who he was. Ji-hoon swallowed. I wasn't. The man smiled softly. You were thinking about going inside. Ji-hoon's face burned. Instead of teasing him, the man chuckled. Relax, I won't bite. They started talking small things at first, where Ji-hoon was from, why he came to the city. The man listened closely, as if Ji-hoon was the most interesting person in the world. Slowly, Ji-hoon felt his fear fade. After a while, the man leaned closer and said quietly, You know, that bar isn't always safe. Some people there aren't very nice. Ji-hoon looked at him, surprised. Then, aren't you one of them? The man laughed, a low, mysterious sound. Maybe, he said, or maybe not. Why don't we find out? Before Ji-hoon could answer, the man gently took his hand. They didn't go to the bar. Instead, they went to a small hotel nearby. The room was quiet, lit only by the soft glow of a single lamp. The door clicked shut behind them, and for a moment, neither moved, just stood there breathing the same charged air. The man stepped closer, slow, giving Ji-hoon every chance to pull away. Fingers brushed Ji-hoon's cheek, tentative at first, then firmer, tracing the line of his jaw as if memorizing it. Their eyes locked, and something unspoken passed between them: permission, longing, a shared secret finally given voice. When their lips met, it was careful, almost reverent. A brush, a pause, then deeper, like a tide finally allowed to rush in after years of being held back. Ji-hoon's hands found the man's shirt, clutching fabric as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. The kiss turned hungry, breathless, mouths opening, tongues sliding together in a slow, searing dance that made Ji-hoon's knees tremble. Hands roamed. Warm palms slipped under Ji-hoon's shirt, mapping the planes of his back, pulling him flush until there was no space left between them. Every touch felt like a spark catching dry grass, sudden, bright, spreading fast. The man kissed along his jaw, down the column of his throat, lips lingering where Ji-hoon's pulse hammered wildly, tasting the quick rise and fall of his breath. Ji-hoon gasped when teeth grazed his collarbone, soft, teasing, and the sound seemed to unravel something in the older man. He lifted Ji-hoon effortlessly, carrying him the few steps to the bed, laying him down like something precious. Their bodies pressed together, heat bleeding through clothes, hearts slamming in tandem. Clothes came off slowly, reverently, not rushed, but inevitable. Skin met skin, and Ji-hoon felt like he was being seen for the first time, truly seen. Every hesitant inch of him welcomed with kisses and murmured words, too quiet to catch but heavy with want. Fingers threaded through his hair, tilting his head back so their mouths could meet again and again, deeper each time, as if they could pour every unspoken year into this single night. It was overwhelming, the slide of bodies, a shared rhythm they found without words, the way pleasure built like a wave, cresting higher and higher until it broke over them both in shuddering, breathless release. In that moment, Ji-hoon wasn't afraid anymore. He was wanted. He was held. He was alive in a way he had never known was possible, and it terrified him. The next morning, before the sun fully rose, Ji-hoon quietly dressed and left. He didn't wake the man. He didn't say goodbye. He just ran back to the bus station, his heart heavy with regret and unanswered questions. Back in his village, life returned to normal, or so he tried to believe. He helped his mother. He walked the familiar paths. He tried to forget. But the man's eyes stayed in his mind, the memory of those hands, that mouth. That quiet certainty refused to fade. Then, one day, a moving truck arrived at the empty house next to his. Ji-hoon watched from his window as boxes were unloaded, and when the door opened, his breath stopped. It was him, the man from the hotel, standing right next door, looking straight at Ji-hoon, with a smile that said, "I found you." The morning sun had barely cleared the hills when Ji-hoon heard the low rumble of the moving truck finally pull away. He stayed by the window longer than he should have, watching the empty street, half expecting the man to vanish like a bad dream. He didn't. Instead, the front door of the house next door opened, and there he was, still tall, still impossibly composed, now carrying a single cardboard box labeled kitchen in neat black marker. Ji-hoon's stomach dropped. He should have stayed hidden, but his mother's voice called from the kitchen, "Ji-hoon, go say hello to the new neighbor, be polite." And habit moved his legs before fear could stop them. He stepped outside barefoot, the wooden porch cool under his feet. The man saw her. Ji-hoon still didn't know his name, looked up immediately, as if he'd been waiting for this exact moment. Their eyes met. Ji-hoon's throat closed. "Annyeonghaseyo," he managed, bowing stiffly, to low, to fast. "Welcome to the neighborhood." So-ho smiled, that same slow, knowing smile from Seoul, and inclined his head. "Thank you. I'm looking forward to settling in." Ji-hoon nodded once, twice, then turned on his heel and practically ran back inside. The door slammed louder than he meant it to. His mother raised an eyebrow from the sink. "What's wrong with you today?" "Nothing," Ji-hoon mumbled, already halfway to his room. He shut the door, leaned against it, and slid to the floor. His heart wouldn't slow down. He kept replaying it. The hotel room, the heat of skin, the way So-ho had whispered against his neck like a promise. And now that same man lived next door, could walk over any time, could speak. Ji-hoon pressed his palms to his eyes until spots danced behind his lids. He didn't tell his parents anything. Not a word. All day he stayed in his room, curtains drawn, phone face down, pretending to study while his mind looped the same terrifying reel. "He knows. He saw me. What if he says something?" Dinner passed in near silence. His father asked if he was sick. Ji-hoon said he was just tired. His mother pressed a hand to his forehead and declared he didn't have a fever, so he must be fine. He escaped back to his room as soon as the dishes were done. Sleep refused to come. The next morning arrived too soon. "Ji-hoon," his father called from the yard. "The cows won't milk themselves. Come on." Ji-hoon dragged himself out of bed, pulled on old work clothes, and trudged to the small barn behind their house. The familiar smells, hay, warm hide, fresh manure usually grounded him. Today, they only made him feel more exposed. He was halfway through the second cow when he heard footsteps on the gravel path. He froze, bucket halfway lifted. So-ho was walking toward the barn, casual in a light grey sweater and dark jeans, carrying an empty metal milk canister. He waved politely at Ji-hoon's father, who was stacking feed bags near the entrance. "Morning, neighbor," his father called cheerfully. "You're up early." "Thought I'd take you up on that offer," So-ho replied, voice smooth and warm. "You said fresh milk is better than anything from the store." Ji-hoon's father laughed. "Of course. For you, I'll even give a little discount. Family price now." Ji-hoon stared at the cow's flank, pretending to be very focused on the rhythm of the milking. His ears burned. They were already friends. In one day, his father Graf, suspicious of city people, had already decided this man was trustworthy. Ji-hoon felt the ground tilt under him. He won't say anything, Ji-hoon told himself desperately. He can't. Not now that he's living here. Not now that he's getting discounts. He finished the last cow in record time, muttered something about being done, and hurried back to the house without looking at So-ho once. He showered fast, changed into his school uniform, and left before anyone could ask why he was in such a rush. At school, he found his usual group under the old persimmon tree near the gate. Mi-jae and Taesung, his two closest guy friends, and SOR and the UNG. The girls who had basically adopted him since middle school. "You look like you saw a ghost," SOR said, tilting her head. "Didn't sleep," Ji-hoon muttered. Taesung slung an arm around his shoulders. "Rough night. Want me to buy you ramyeon at lunch?" Ji-hoon forced a smile. "I'm okay." They walked to class together, chatter washing over him like background noise. He sat in his usual seat by the window, staring at the empty teacher's desk, trying to breathe normally. Then the intercom crackled. "Attention, second-year students. Your new biology teacher will be joining you today. Please give him a warm welcome." The classroom door opened. Every head turned. He walked in wearing a crisp white dress shirt, sleeves rolled neatly to the forearms, dark slacks, and a quiet confidence that filled the room without effort. Hair swept back, jaw sharp, eyes calm and intelligent behind subtle wire-frame glasses he hadn't worn in Seoul. Girls gasped softly. Whispers erupted. He's so handsome. Is he even allowed to be that good-looking? A few boys crossed their arms, suddenly sitting straighter, jaws tight. Ji-hoon couldn't move. Soha set his briefcase on the desk, turned to the class, and offered a small, polite bow. Good morning. My name is Kim Seoha. I'll be your new biology teacher starting today. I look forward to getting to know all of you. His gaze swept the room slow, professional, until it landed on Ji-hoon. For one heartbeat, the entire world narrowed to that single point of contact. Then Suru's mouth curved just the tiniest lift at one corner. He winked. Quick, subtle, gone in an instant. But Ji-hoon felt it like a physical touch. Heat flooded his face. His hands clenched under the desk so hard his nails bit into his palms. Soha turned back to the board and began writing the day's objectives in neat handwriting. Ji-hoon stared at the back of his own hands, pulse roaring in his ears. The man from the hotel, the man from next door, now his teacher. Class had barely started, and already Ji-hoon knew one thing with bone-deep certainty. There was no running from this anymore. End of chapter 2.